Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am Stone Shields, and I don't even really know what to do with myself at this point because that was one of the craziest games I have ever seen. I definitely think that is the game of the year for the NFL in 2024. As a Bengals fan, we have been a part of so many of these insane games, but this one certainly is very near the top. The Bengals get it done against the Denver Broncos in overtime by a score of 32-24. My goodness, is there so much to unpack with this game here this evening. It just was absolutely insane. From start to finish, competitive football game. We expected that going in. And then overtime, the overtime session was absolutely nuts as well. 10 minutes of chaos, back and forth, relying on the defense to make some stops, and they absolutely produced. And in the end, Joe Burrow put on the cape like he always does. Zach Taylor said after the game, how could you not say he is the best player in the world at this moment? And I totally agree with Zach Taylor. How in the world could you not say that Joe Burrow is the best player in the world right now? Before we fully dive in to our instant reaction video, that of course is what is happening on today's edition of Bengals Breakdown, doing some solo producing as well, just like I did with the game, so bear with me if you see me looking down or whatever the case may be. But hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. We came so close to 15,000 subscribers. Our viewership for this watch party absolutely was nuts, peaked over 5,000 people during the overtime session, which was absolutely awesome. Let's get to 15K here after this video. Help me out. Help yourself out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. We'll be live for the Pittsburgh game, which is another playoff game for the Cincinnati Bengals, so that should be super exciting. Bengals obviously need a lot to go their way as well. We'll get into that additionally. I have videos talking about that throughout the week as well. So don't miss out on our coverage. Hit that subscribe button right now. Before we get into our takeaways, let's start with some injury news. Chase Brown. Chase Brown has been absolutely fantastic for you this entire season, and he was great for you in this game as well. It wasn't really going off, but he was doing his thing. Make no mistake about it. At the end of the game, he went down because he didn't want to go into the end zone, kind of wanted the Bengals to run the clock out, which ended up being a wise decision considering what happened after that. Bo Nix going down the field and tying the football game up. But he left with a right ankle injury. He hurt his ankle on that play, which is just so unfortunate because he was giving himself up. The play kind of had come to an end, and he just kind of went down awkwardly. Taylor said after the game it is a ankle sprain, so we'll see about his status for next week against Pittsburgh. Khalil Herbert was next man up. He did an admirable job when he came in for Chase Brown, but it was very apparent he didn't have the same boost, the same energy, the same just abilities in general as Chase Brown. Fingers crossed he's all right. He's been fantastic for you all season long, but Chase Brown left late in this game with an ankle injury. Let's get into our 5 takeaways here from this football game. Just got wrapped up here probably about a half hour or so ago. Takeaway number 1, how could this not be takeaway number 1? And that, of course, is Joe Burrow brilliance. As I mentioned at the top of today's show, how could you not say he is not the best player in football right now? Joe Burrow was fantastic. The beginning of the game was definitely methodical. It was a limited possession type of game. The Bengals had their struggles in terms of fourth down execution early on. Had 2 turnovers on downs in that first half that really prevented them from getting off to a big lead in that game. Only went into halftime up 7-3. But taking a look at the numbers continue to wow you every single week. 4-12, 3 touchdowns, and very critical. We talked about this all throughout the week. No turnovers in this game for Joe Burrow, which is absolutely awesome to see. This guy was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Jamar Chase, they did a nice job on Jamar Chase. Thought Surtain would be on him a little more than he was, but regardless, couldn't go to Chase a ton in this game. He went to Tee Higgins a lot, which we'll get to him a little bit later on of our with our show right now. But just absolutely, you're running out of stuff to say about this guy. The fact he's not in the MVP conversation is ridiculous. When we wake up on Monday morning or perhaps even Sunday morning before the games get going tomorrow, people better be talking about it because this is unbelievable. The things that he is doing. Cincinnati is incredibly lucky to have him as their quarterback. Hopefully they can take advantage here. They're set up for years to come with this guy playing the position. Going to have an opportunity to potentially sneak into the playoffs. They beat Pittsburgh next week, and some more stuff continues to go their way. Leads to the pinned comment of today's video. What is your one-word reaction to the Bengals' victory against the Denver Broncos? Crazy game. Unbelievable game. Overtime game. Down to the wire. Think about all the possessions in overtime, too. It was such a limited possession game. in the first half. And then in overtime, the ball's going back and forth, back and forth. Their defense is making incredible stops. Awesome stuff. If that ad comes here on YouTube, totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Just mention the defense. That is going to be takeaway number 2 for me as well here on our instant reaction video. The defense had their game of the year. I am totally convinced of that. It was awesome to see what they did defensively. This is the team that had been so turnover reliant in the past. Only got one, albeit a massive one, with the GP interception on Bo Nix. Was awesome to see. But this defense really settled in. Think about that first drive. Denver goes down, kicks a field goal, really moved the ball really easily there on that first drive. But ultimately, Bengals defense settles down. They forced the field goal. That was the only points the Broncos scored in that first half. You forced 2 consecutive 3-and-outs after that, and you kind of run the clock out. They didn't really have a hope leading into that halftime session. And then in the second half, the things that you were doing. Had some rough drives there, the 2 touchdowns from Mims. The last one, not great, that you let them go all the way down the field and score that touchdown. But a lot of that was Bo Nix magic. Bo Nix was brilliant on that drive for Denver that ultimately allowed them to tie the game. By the way, me personally, Bo Nix wanted to go for 2. I would have went for 2 as well because I wouldn't want to see Joe Burrow in overtime. Ultimately, that decision cost Sean Payton and company. But your defense in overtime, unbelievable. The fact that you could force those 3-and-outs and get the ball back to Joe Burrow and the offense. A couple of weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, ain't no way in heck that defense would have been able to do it. Guys stepped up, guys recovering, applying pressure to the quarterback. It was awesome to see. Got to tip your hat to Lou Anarumo and the defense. Do a lot of changes need to come on that side of the ball this offseason? Absolutely. But still, the performance that they put in tonight, particularly in overtime, unbelievable and potentially season-saving. Takeaway number 3, Tee Higgins is a dog. Tee Higgins is a dog. You understand that? Tee Higgins is an absolute dog. He's been knocked throughout his career. Oh, he's, injury prone, or he doesn't like to play through stuff or whatever. No, that guy was banged up out there on the football field today, and he was going to war for this city of Cincinnati and his teammates, and by golly, did Joe Burrow need him. 3 touchdowns in this game for Tee Higgins, and that last drive in overtime after the missed kick, it was just, screw it. We're going to go with Joe Burrow, and we're either going to win with him or we're going to lose with him. And Joe Burrow said, I'm going to my guy, Tee Higgins. Also went to Mike Gesicki a lot, who we don't have in this video, but he was unbelievable in that game as well. Got to give Tee Higgins his flowers for his performance. You really got to start to wonder what you do if you are the Bengals front office in regards to Tee Higgins. I'm not going to lie to you. I was pretty content with this being Tee Higgins' last season in Cincinnati. But after what he did tonight and after what he continues to do throughout this stretch in 2024 when he's out there playing football, you have defenses that can limit Ja'Marr Chase. You saw that with Denver. Denver's an elite defense. Chase still, did his thing out there on the football field. Let's just pull up his stats here quickly on the fly. Yeah, Ja'Marr Chase still had a 100-yard game, but it still felt like he was kept in check to an extent. Obviously, the big play on that last drive was to Ja'Marr as well. Before, of course, you hit or that was earlier in the overtime session. But regardless, Ja'Marr Chase got his, but you felt like he was a little bit limited. And who was there to take over some of that slack? It was Tee Higgins, and he did it beautifully. The contested catches, the footwork, the route running, it was all excellent from this guy. Big decision for the Bengals front office as far as what they're going to do with Tee Higgins. I don't understand how financially it's going to work, but you might need to try to figure it out because this guy is an elite football player, and he really is a major factor in what makes your offense be successful. Takeaway number 4 here. Give Zach Taylor his flowers. All right, give this man his flowers. All you guys out there calling for his job, how do you feel right about now? You should feel pretty silly because I feel pretty silly for you, to be completely honest with you. In fact, I feel a little bit embarrassed that you would say that about Zach Taylor. He was brilliant in this game. I'm not taking any more Zach Taylor slander, all right? His decisions there early on to be aggressive didn't work out, but he stuck to his guns. And think about that drive where you hit Tee Higgins in the end zone, the second touchdown, I believe. You hit Chase Brown on the slant over the middle on 4th down. You execute, and you go from there. I love the decision by Zach Taylor to kick the field goal on 3rd down, considering the bad snap and the bad hold that you've had in the past with this unit as far as Kyle Adamitis and Ryan Rico go. Thought that was a great decision to kick it on 3rd down. And then I thought it was an even better decision when you had an opportunity there at the end of the game. You said, yeah, ain't no way we're kicking another field goal. We're going to go out there and we're going to win this game or lose this game with Joe Burrow, and that's exactly what he did. The fact that Zach Taylor had been able to keep this locker room together over the course of this stretch, win 4 games in a row, yeah, no more Zach Taylor slander. Ain't going to happen here. Ain't going to happen here at Bengals Breakdown. What did the Cincinnati Bengals do in December? Leads us into takeaway number 5, and I think this ties into Zach Taylor as well. Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals win in December. This is what this football team does. There is really no doubt about it that they can go out there and they make things happen in this month. You see it year after year after year. Even last year when you had Jake Browning out there playing quarterback, he was a guy that still put you in a spot there at the end of the year. You finish that year 9-8. Look where you're at right now, 8-8. Certainly not where you want to be. Certainly not what the expectation was. Certainly not championship level standard, but you're still alive going into week 18. Who would have thought that a month or so ago, or after the Pittsburgh game, it was all doom and gloom. This thing was over. Guess what? You're going into the final week of the regular season with a chance. Give Zach Taylor his flowers, because all the Bengals do in December with Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow is win football games, and that continued this year here in 2024. Let me know. Be honest with me in the comments section before we get out of here on today's instant reaction video. Will the Bengals make the playoffs? Let me know in the comments section. Type Y for yes or N for no. Going to need a lot of help. We certainly will see. We will document all that help throughout the weekend and into next week. Have plenty of videos for you guys. But let me know in the comments section. Will Cincinnati pull off a miracle and make the playoffs? Type Y for yes or N for no.